So here you are to unlock the future with Agentic no-code commerce. You're in the right place, okay? So we'll talk a little bit more about it. But before we go into it, I'm Vinod. I'm on the product team here. I focus on small businesses and solopreneurs. And here we have the esteemed crew of engineering. He's the engineering manager, Jiva, Perumal, our architect, and he's a senior engineer on our team as well. He's a tech lead. So before we get into all this stuff, we want to start with the simplest thing. Every merchant of yours, by the way, we have only a few people, but I'll ask, it's a very cozy environment, right? So I'll ask you a question. Any of you work with small merchants directly? You do, okay. So you know the problems that you get, right? So they want to sell things anywhere, anytime, and they want to do it with the smallest, easiest setup and no cost. This is their challenge. And today, if they have to do a self-service, they can do it, like on PayPal. Like, for example, the screen shows like you have a little bit of a ring that they want to sell, and then they can come to PayPal, use their business account, and then create a payment link and specify, here's my product, here's the price, here's the details, and here's how much I want to sell, taxes, shipping, all of that. That's available today. However, we'll always be wondering, like, beyond this, of course, like, you can have more things. You can customize your checkout flow. You can specify exact payment methods that you want. You get automated emails. And even you can create a shopping cart for yourself. So a bunch of things are already possible. Now, the question then remains is, okay, so a sophisticated checkout we are providing out of box, basically. Now, if you think of it, all of us are here because we want to develop things, and here's a developer conference, and why, if a merchant can then do by themselves, what are we here for, right? And that's what we really want to talk about. So the thing is, creating payment links, they can do all day long. But your merchants are not that simple. They're not creating a link, but they're modifying it, changing it, and their business is growing. They're constantly wanting to change things, and they will ask their developer to help them do that stuff. And automating that is the thing that developers could accomplish with what we actually built with the Agentic toolkit. And that's what we'll talk about today. And I'll say that in order to do this so you'd have to do a bunch of things. You would have to do a REST API integration, or you'll have to do some ETL stuff. They'll give you a bunch of spreadsheet things with, okay, this is my item, this is the description of it, here's the price, here's you need to do this, and all that kind of stuff, right? So this is what you'll be dealing with. However, if you go beyond that and imagine a scenario, we'll talk about that use case, but I'll tell you this. I'm going to set the context, but the reality of it is what we want to see with the team here. So imagine this awesome t-shirt designer, and he is coming up with cool designs all the time. And they can interact with an agent that you as a developer can build with the Agentic toolkit. And they can converse with it, and they can simply, for example, in this particular case, they'll take pictures of few t-shirts, designs, sorry, t-shirt designs, upload them. And this agent is then going to parse the thing, identify what the t-shirt is, suggest a description, a price. It can go much advanced because it's doing reasoning than actually you're querying back and forth. And that is possible because the Agentic toolkit that we have and the MCP server that's behind it, it's exposing all the APIs that does those things in the backend today when they configure it for themselves. So this could be things like now it's asking questions, more and more questions, like, okay, do you want it for shipping, or you might be doing shipping, or you might be selling in person. So these are the things. And eventually it can also create the descriptions and links for all of it, and it presents them to the merchant. And this is, at any point of time, they can change these things as well. It doesn't need to be that they need to log in to do it. They're just doing it on the fly, on their phone, because you've created that interface. And this MCP server, it actually exposes much more capabilities, because if you could imagine, what's happening is your merchant is creating and modifying their catalog. They're building their inventory. The catalog is the core thing that they are building behind it. And that power is made so simple and dynamic and real time, and with the simplest of interfaces that we have. And this particular use case for fun, like this person is at the concert and then they wanted the t-shirt is an amazing design, everyone is asking and they want to sell it, but they don't have the QR code, they can simply retrieve that. In all this stuff, they didn't talk to the developer, they talked to the agent, but the developer is the one who built the entire thing for them, and developer is scaling their business beyond that. So this is all talk. And I'm in product, so I can say all this stuff, but people will question, so I'm going to hand it over to Jiva and the team. They're going to talk through the demo.
Live demo?
Live demo.
It's a recorded live
Recorded demo. Good question. but promise, we are here, right? So we are all here. You can come to these guys. They can show you what's there. Okay?
Yes.
That's a promise.
Post talk, you can show that.
Yes.
All right. Let's take a quick recap of the scenario here before we jump into the live demo. So like Vinod explained, we have two major personas. One, we have the merchant who handles the business, and then we have developers and engineers. And in this specific use case, the merchant decided that they now have to sell a bunch of products. They don't have a website, they don't have any technology infrastructure which is already available for them to enable these online sales. Now, they come to the developer, and the developer will now have to identify a way to enable these merchants to sell things online as quickly as possible. And this is a requirement which is coming from the business. And the payment links and buttons product, which Vinod just explained, is a perfect fit for this use case. With just few simple configurations, the developer will be able to create payment link for every single product, and that payment link can be shared with all the consumers through various sales channels. It can be a social media post, it can be a direct message, it can be a WhatsApp channel, it can be anything. And if the merchant wants, they can also create a website out of it or e-commerce portal out of it and list all the links there and the buttons there, which the buyers can come and start making the transactions. So now with just few simple clicks, within minutes, we are enabling this secure way for the business to reach out to their consumers and get paid. And let's take a step back. If we look at this entire scenario, there are some manual tasks which is involved as a back and forth conversation between the business and the developer. And we developers, we love to automate the heck out of all the manual tasks, which we usually do, because it honestly makes things more efficient and it helps us to save a lot of time. And then we can go and focus on solving much more challenging problems. So let's take a quick peek at the different scenarios which we could potentially automate by the developers and or the merchant developers. And in this case, we have a business or we have a merchant who sends all these product requirements to the developer. Now the developer will have to understand what that product is all about, and then they'll have to configure the payment link or the technology infrastructure in such a way that the right product shows up with the right value prop to all the buyers, so that it will also gain a lot of traction. And within this entire flow, like I mentioned, the conversation between the merchant and the developer is still manual, and it could soon become a bottleneck. And developers' availability is also very critical here, because if business needs some help on the spot, for example, when the merchant, we know this is on a concert, the developer has to be available to get all those payment link and configurations updated. So how can we avoid this? How can we make it much more easier for our merchants and businesses? One possible way is to automate that manual task. And traditionally, we go for batch processing or some sort of asynchronous processing, where merchants can send all the product information either in CSV file or in a different format. The developer can then build an automation flow which can get all the details and then save those information in the configuration, which works fine. But however, there are a few catches in this approach. One, we'll have to build this automation flow, and it's a custom development. It changes by use case by use case. So it's very difficult to scale. At the same time, there's also a learning curve involved between the developer and the merchant, and they'll have to agree upon using the automation flow in a specific format. And the more easier for the user to interact with it, the more difficult the development process is going to be. So this is one of the bottlenecks which we'll have to solve. Can we do better than automation? Yes. With AI, it's definitely possible to do it, to make it much more easier and scalable for both businesses and the developers. And LLM models are no longer just answering questions or responding to questions which are asked by the user. Now they can also make smart actions. With Agentic toolkit and which Agentic framework, they can also identify the intent of the user, and they can then take the respective action based on what the user is trying to do. And what we have done here is we have created a toolkit library, which is available for all the developers, publicly available, which they can then integrate that library into their AI automation workflow. And just by injecting or plugging this library in, the LLM model will now get to know all the capabilities which are offered by PayPal, including payment links and buttons. And it also identifies the best way to get all the information from the merchant and then handle everything which a developer would technically do it manually in the past. Let's see a live action demo with Claude Desktop. Vikram, my lead engineer, is going to present this live action demo and walk us through this entire process.
All right. I'm Vikram, and just quickly walk through this one. So we have our existing tools available, like Gio called out, on our production environment, and you can just hook it up pretty easily. So configuration-wise, Claude is fairly straightforward, where they have their config file, and you just point it to our remote MCP server, and that's about it. And instantly after that, you can just ask for all the available tools, and it gives you all the possible available tools. And again, these tools are there today, and there are going to be more and more tools that PayPal, as well as our payment links, will be adding in. And this will be just ever expanding. So I'll just quickly go through this. Cool. So once you have a list of tools, now you can decide which one works best for you. And my intention, since I'm a payment link developer, I end up getting this image that we previously saw and say that I want to sell this online for $20. Boom. That's all the information that's required. And after that, the LLM model of your choice could give you reasoning as to what all is required based on the MCP tool that's configured. So it's able to do the mapping that this is what is needed for this tool. And it's able to identify that you want to create a payment link and ask you a bunch of questions. So again, we are not building the LLM model, so it's totally open to anybody to use whichever LLM model they want. And all we do is now this reasoning would help the merchant pretty easily configure more and more details. So for instance, you ask for where this shipping is going to happen. And now the shipping would get updated to the same payment link, whichever it's going to be creating. And then it just gets added in, and boom, we just have a payment link created in literally 20 seconds. And again, so this is plugged into any client of your choice. So you can put in a CSV file, you can put it in images, or you can put in pretty much like a PDF file, for instance. And all of this is going to be pretty easily automatable. And you can have complete details, and it's ready to use. So the best part is this is going to be available instantaneously. So this is a use case where you just create a new product, but we do have other use cases where people change their mind all the time. So today my t-shirt is called t-shirt, and tomorrow I might want to call it more describable as a black t-shirt, for instance. So things like that is easily configurable. And oh, this one is a premium white. Okay, sure. So tomorrow I can change the mind to black, even better. And now you see the payment link and you want to add more details to make it more appealing for the user. Sure. And then you can ask the LLM model to generate a description, or you can put in your own description and just tell the agent to update it. So it's able to get the details from the previous context and provide that over to the tool. And now with the click of a button, it is ready again. Would you like to improve it even further? Let's go a little further. All right, so the next step is, again, now I want to send it over to somebody. Messaging is an easy option, or you have other means like WhatsApp or email. So these are tools that are available. A lot of third-party tools are also available. As a developer, I can hook it up to existing tools or create my own custom tools to connect to my own email server, or use existing Twilio or any other third-party options that are available to send a text message. And once that is done, it just sends it over to the buyer, and the buyer can just take it out from whatever you built in less than 20 seconds. So it's trying to go in 2x and still not going through. All right, so the next portion I would see is, now as a buyer, you have received the WhatsApp message, and you can just click on the link. It has all the details. Everything is configured as per your use case, and they can just go about their day. So now you have a list of available tools. And again, now you get the last created link. So again, these are things that are already available out of the box, just hooking up to the tools, MCP tools that we have created. And you can go in and be like, I want to get the last payment link I created, and this is what it is. And you don't even have to remember all of these details, because it can get it from the context of the previous messages that you have sent that are stored in your device, and it's not shared anywhere. And now you can just send it as an email or a QR code, however you want, emailable link, or you can just send the QR code of the link and send it over to the user. And again, so interaction-wise, it can be a lot minimal compared to what we do today, where we have to change our mind, go in and code, update the code again, and then again send it as an email manually. So most of this, what it does is takes up all our day-to-day manual tasks of updating details and automates it all together in a secure fashion using their client ID and secret, and just pass it over. Cool. This thing, that is it for me. I'll pass it over to Parimal.
Another question.
Yeah.
So, are you saying that you can do this? This is done with cloud, right? And this one, so you can switch LLM.
Yeah, you can switch the LLM, whatever available LLM you have, or your local llama. So whatever is configurable at the MCP client interface. So that's you can configure, and all we need is, like, we don't need to pass our LLM or AI needs to know our PayPal client ID secret, that we have to configure it as environment variable. Those details are available in our developer docs, right? Yeah.
I have a question, like if we have multiple users to whom we have to send the links, and how are we going to manage that with the inventory count? Like you send to only one email address at this moment. If I have to send it to like 400, 300 people, and at that moment I have to track the inventory count as well, and I have to like set some deadline that within that deadline the payment should be done. So is that thing taken?
Yeah, I repeat your question. So how do we send more than one people the same payment link, and how we can configure the inventory so that, like, we don't oversell the product, right? So as a payment link, as a product, it supports inventory itself. So while we creating the payment link in the toolkit, we can say that, like, hey, I want to set the quantity, maximum sell quantity of 200. So that limits the usage of the payment, and it never ran out of the inventory. Second thing is the SMS we have seen here, and email and WhatsApp or social media posting is an extra work which you can configure from third parties. It's not like an out of box from PayPal. What it does is, like, so you can say, like, hey, there is a Google offers like MCP server where, like, you can configure like a distribution list of emails. You can send it through, like, so that you can build additional tools using their third-party system, and you can, like, load from a CSV file or like some sort of Excel sheet, and, like, you can configure, like, send all this list of emails with this payment link. So you can configure the further steps, like, however you want to share it.
I'd like to add a few more to what Parimal just mentioned. And what we demonstrated here is a multi-agent framework, which means that you need not just have PayPal's agent here, which has all the capabilities available built in from payment links point of view. The inventory use case and other product-related use cases are already baked into the payment link product. Now, the agent ecosystem will have to use it the right way. and it can also interact with other agents. And especially for the use case which we just discussed, if we want to send SMSs, or if we have a CRM tool which has all the information about all the consumers which you are interacting with, and that can also act as an agent. So now PayPal's agent and the other agent which you have built, or the third-party tool which you are using, can talk to each other and automate this entire flow. So it's like we opening up these capabilities to the agentic world, and it's entirely up to the engineer or the developer to build the workflow and cherry pick the use cases which they want to automate.
Okay, so with that, so we can jump onto like architecture. So we build. So there is a detailed talk in somewhere else available today. So they will go over like how entire MCP server and PayPal toolkit has been built within PayPal. So I will touch upon like how it fits for payment link and limited details with this architecture, right? So we all know that like AI is trained text in, text out, image in, text out, or image in, image out, or video in, video out, or in the combinations. So if you ask them like AI as straightforward, like, hey, can you create a payment link? So AI will tell like, hey, I am a language model. I don't have like information about, but I can find information about how to create a payment link. So it provides online documentation how to create, but it doesn't do that like actual process, right? This is where like the toolkits and tools we build, which helps them AI to train them with available tools and perform actions on top of it. So this toolkit library, which PayPal exported as other than payment link, we have much more like order creation, product catalog inventory, and also like subscriptions and invoicing capabilities. So everything available in the toolkit. One way to start with is like you can use the toolkit library as a starting point to develop your own agent client. So we have seen the demo today, which uses MCP server client interface. As a toolkit is like a developer can use the toolkit, build their workflow, and may add like more use cases such as like email and SMS is like one we have seen in the demo. But you can imagine like you can build anything out of available tools from third parties. On the left side, you can see the MCP client, which is like you can use Claude, Slime, or any other system which offers MCP client. So a MCP client needs a LLM to be selected or AI to be selected. So here we list like 4 or 5, but it's not limited to that. So you can configure local llama to process these tools, and they can train over the time by looking at the tools and perform actions based on the input provided by the user. With that,
Go ahead.
Can you go back quickly to the initial setup
Yeah.
to select the LLM and the MCP server?
On the demo.
First slide, the
Can you-
first demo.
The demo video?
Yeah, the beginning of the
All right.
It's very small.
All right. So what we show here is the Claude desktop app, which is Anthropic and which is developed by Anthropic. And by default, out of the box, they are providing access to 2 LLMs. And what you see here at the bottom right corner is Sonnet and Haiku. But you don't have to restrict, as engineers, you don't have to restrict yourself to just using Claude. You can technically use any client or the MCP host, select the LLM model, and then in the Claude tool, we do have a config file where we can point to a specific MCP server. Like Perumal mentioned, there are 2 ways to configure it. One, we have an PayPal MCP server. All you have to do is just point to that URL and add your REST credentials, and your toolkit or your current AI workflow will start interacting with that. And as you can see here, the first question we asked to Claude is, hey, what are all the tools you support? And since we have already configured it, we are already pointing it to the PayPal server, you can see that it displays as the 4th option PayPal functions, which has different ways and mechanisms to create payment links, invoices, and other products which PayPal has. In a similar fashion, you can also include other tools like we called out. It's a multi-agent ecosystem, and you can see we have a tool for sending SMS and WhatsApp as well. And similar to this, you can keep configuring as many tools as you want in the Claude config JSON, and you can do the exact same thing in other tools as well, or clients as well.
Right.
Yeah, and I think we have 48 tools configured in this one. So this is what
Yeah.
you see in here. So that should also help.
Right. As a closing statement, I'd like to add that with payment links and buttons product, we'll be able to create and enable e-commerce transaction in minutes. We don't have to spend a lot of time on building all the nuts and bolts to get an e-commerce site up and running. They can just, with few simple configurations, they can get it up and running in minutes. Now, with agentic world and with AI capabilities, we can reduce it even further with 2 seconds. And the best part is the developer doesn't have to be that middleman acting as a bottleneck between the business and the final outcome of the product. Developers can maintain the infrastructure, they can maintain more workflows, they can add more and more automations to it, so the business can also scale accordingly along with it. Anything else would you like to add, Vinod?
That's the end of the formal talk, but we can always are here for any questions and stuff, and come by and talk. All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
That's all.